Hillary Clinton flew out of Adelaide this morning, wrapping up her visit for AUSMIN. It was her second time in Australia in her capacity as Secretary of State. US Ambassador to Australia Jeffrey Bleich was one of those farewelling Mrs Clinton this morning, and I spoke to him after her departure and began by asking what the Secretary of State's verdict was on the visit.
Oh, she thought it was a smashing success all around, Selena. She was very, very pleased, and I think given all the issues in the world that are commanding her attention right now, it was stunning to me that she managed to remain so upbeat, and I give Adelaide and Perth a great deal of credit for that. She was very positive about this visit and about the things that she learned in her meetings with her counterparts, the Secretary of Defense also, and then your Defense Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs, but also what she saw here in Adelaide and the collaboration that we're doing. So she's in a very, very good mood, and I think on every dimension, whether it was security, economic relations, or as we determined yesterday, in energy cooperation, we made some real progress.
It was disappointing there was no major announcement at Techport yesterday in Adelaide. What are the chances of them securing that contract to do voyage repairs to the Pacific Fleet?
Well, there were a couple of big announcements yesterday. One of them related to this ongoing strategic energy dialogue. And given the leadership that Adelaide has shown in clean tech, that's going to be a tremendous opportunity for us to work together in order to make sure that there's enough energy to sustain this region. Then you have another major announcement that came out of the discussions with well, actually, I guess we didn't announce it yet, but there is going to be even further collaboration on higher education and on some of our training for the future. And then with respect to defense, her visit to Techport, I think, gave her a real opportunity to see firsthand what we can do there. And she had her defense attaché, an admiral who was taking very careful notes, and I think that could lead to something down the road. But you don't want to rush these projects. You want to make sure that everyone has had a chance to see them up close and personal.
The Secretary of State described the relationship between our two countries as indispensable. It was a glowing speech, but is AUSMIN and visits like this more than that? Is it more than speeches, a talk fest, picture opportunities?
Oh, it is much more than that. These are very intense and substantive conversations. There were some announcements that we had that had to do with very important issues, and these are not in any way trivial issues. For example, we had announcements relating to the issue of space debris, which is a huge problem. There are so many satellites up there already, and they provide the spine for our telecommunications throughout the world. It's critical that we make sure that they remain intact and that they don't start bumping into each other. You've got more countries putting up satellites, and they aren't as sophisticated with their satellite technology, and then you have other countries that are trying to practice anti-satellite weaponry and leaving space debris from their efforts, and that can interfere with all of our systems. So we work together on some very important initiatives to protect space and really protect all of our communications and networks that affect everything we do. So those are important. But then we also talk about every flashpoint in the world, every challenging issue, and how we assess them, how we are going to work together on them. So that's a big part of what AUSMIN is, and the photo ops are the fun part, but they're about 5 minutes of it. The rest of it is roll up your sleeves, hard work.
Now, this visit by Hillary Clinton, I understand, ticks a box for you. It honours a promise that you made when you became ambassador back in 2009.
Well, I made a number of promises to myself, and one thing was that I was going to get out and see all of Australia and not just be confined to the traditional quarters of power in Canberra. But I also wanted to make sure that everyone in the cabinet, throughout our government, had a chance to really appreciate the great scale and breadth and opportunity and wonder of Australia. And so I wanted to make sure every capital city had at least one cabinet member or president, come and visit. And this has filled that out. We had our Attorney General in Sydney. We had the Secretary in Melbourne and Adelaide and Perth. We've had our Secretary of Education down in Hobart. The President was obviously in Canberra and in Darwin. And so we have been covering the map of Australia, and I think that's something that as long as I get to hold on to this job, I hope to add more legacies, but I hope that'll be part of it.
Ambassador Jeffrey Bleich, I do thank you very much for speaking to us on Newsday.
Oh, thank you very much, Selena, and thank you, Joe, for keeping the light out of my eyes.
Ambassador Bleich, he's a great sport, and thanks very much to our cameraman Joseph Buller there battling planes taking off on the tarmac at Adelaide Airport.